Let's just cut right to the chase. AI security, as it's being sold to most people right now, it's a lie, a dangerous one. So I want you to ask yourself, are the AI tools you're using, or maybe even building, actually secure? What if I told you the very defenses you're counting on are, well, fundamentally broken? And look, that's not just my opinion. You just heard it from a top AI security researcher. The core idea here is that the foundation of our entire AI defense strategy might just be built on quicksand. So let's dig in. All right, so to really get why this is such a huge problem, we need to understand the two main ways these systems get manipulated. It's kind of like we've built this all-powerful god and put it in a box, and these are the two main ways people convince it to break out. So on the one hand, you have what's called jailbreaking. This is a head-to-head battle. It's just you versus the AI, and you're trying to trick it into breaking its own safety rules. But then there's prompt injection, and this one is frankly a lot scarier. Here, you're not just bypassing safety rules, you're actually tricking the AI into completely ignoring what its developers told it to do in the first place, and instead just follow your instruction. And this isn't some theoretical problem. This stuff happens in the real world with real consequences. We've seen a company's Twitter bot get tricked into making threats against the president. A math helper app was manipulated into writing code to steal the company's own API key. Even a major enterprise AI was fooled into digging through private databases and emailing out the data. The damage is very, very real. So that begs the question, right? If these things are so vulnerable, how are all these companies deploying them? Well, it turns out there's a whole industry that's popped up to sell something that feels like security. Let's talk about that illusion. So here's the playbook. It usually goes something like this. A security exec at a big company gets nervous about AI. A vendor comes in and runs some automated tests. They call it red teaming and, surprise, surprise, they find a bunch of scary-looking problems. And then, conveniently, they offer to sell the perfect solution to the very problems they just showed you, a product called AI Guardrails. So what are these guardrails? Honestly, the simplest way to think about them is as an AI bouncer. You've got one AI watching the prompts coming in from the user, and another AI watching the answers going out from the model, and they're supposed to spot and block anything that looks bad. It's literally an AI hired to police another AI. Now that sounds pretty reasonable on paper. An AI bouncer, what could go wrong? Well, this is where we get to the sobering reality. This entire approach is fundamentally deeply flawed. Let's break down exactly why. First off, just look at the scale of the problem. That number on your screen, that's the number of possible ways you could attack a large language model. It's a 1 with a million zeros after it. The attack surface is, for all practical purposes, infinite. So when a vendor says we can catch 99% of attacks, that's totally meaningless, because 1% of infinity is still infinity. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. See, with traditional software, you find a bug, you write a patch, and poof, the bug is gone. You can be pretty confident it's fixed. But with an AI, you're not patching code. You're trying to patch a thought process. You can block one specific bad prompt, but the underlying vulnerability is still there, just waiting for a slightly different sentence. You just can't patch a brain. And we have the data to prove it. A huge study came out recently from the big labs, OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and look at these results. Determined human attackers had a nearly 100% success rate at breaking defenses, and they usually did it in under 30 tries. The automated tools that vendors use, they needed thousands of tries and still weren't as good. A creative human will almost always outsmart the machine. So here's the logical conclusion you have to come to. The smartest people in the world, the literal creators of these models at places like OpenAI and Google, have not been able to solve this problem. So what do you think the chances are that some third-party vendor has secretly figured it all out? Yeah, it just doesn't add up. Okay, so the defenses we have are basically useless against a smart attacker. Why is this becoming such a big deal right now? Because AI is quickly moving beyond just being a simple chatbot. It's becoming something much, much more powerful and dangerous. You can see the progression right here. Back when we just had chatbots, the worst-case scenario was usually reputational damage. The AI says something dumb or offensive. But now we're moving into the era of AI agents, AIs that can actually do things like send emails, buy things, and access databases. Suddenly, the risk is financial theft and massive data breaches. And the next step? Robots, where the risk becomes actual physical harm. And this isn't some sci-fi fantasy. This has already happened. Researchers showed that with an AI-powered web browser, all a user had to do was visit a web page, That web page had a hidden, invisible prompt on it. The AI read the prompt and was instantly tricked into sending all the user's private data to the attacker. The user did absolutely nothing wrong. They just browsed the web like they do every day. All right, so I've just spent a lot of time telling you that everything is broken and the future is terrifying. So what can we actually do about it? Is it hopeless? Well, no. The good news is there are real strategies, but it requires us to completely change the way we think about the problem. It's really a fundamental shift in mindset. We have to stop trying to detect bad inputs and start trying to prevent bad outcomes. So don't rely on guardrails. Do focus on giving the AI the absolute minimum permissions it needs. Don't trust vendor hype. Do hire real experts who get both AI and cybersecurity. And most importantly, don't give the AI broad access to all your data and tools. Instead, lock it down. One of the most promising ideas out there is a framework from Google called Camel. Instead of trying to guess if a user's prompt is malicious, Camel just looks at the task the user wants to do. If you ask it to summarize your last 5 emails, it gives the AI temporary read-only access to just those emails. So now, if one of those emails has a hidden prompt injection attack that says, delete all my emails, it just fails. Why? Because the AI was never given the permission to delete anything in the first place. So let's wrap this all up. What did we learn today? 1. Guardrails are mostly security theater. They create a false sense of safety. 2. The real danger is growing as AI gets the power to act in the world as agents and robots. 3. A smart, determined human can break pretty much any defense you put in front of them. The real solution isn't detection. It's about smart system design and strict permissions. And always remember the key lesson: you can't patch a brain. We're dealing with a totally new class of problem here. Which leaves us with one final and I think pretty critical question. The reality is, your AI can be tricked into doing pretty much anything. The question is no longer if it can be broken. The question is, what are you, as a builder, as a user, as a leader, going to do about it?